My dude, what's up?
There we go. Sorry, I had to change my settings. I just bought a brand new microphone setup. So
Wow, what kind of microphone?
actually, Chris, my buddy, bought it. He got what does he have here? Audio Technica
2020.
Yep, that's it.
It's a good mic. Cool.
Yeah, and a mixer and everything. So it's pretty sweet. What's going on, dude?
Nothing much. I just wanted to talk about some skeptic things. I caught a little bit of the end of that other stream. It seemed interesting. That Martin guy seemed pretty cool. I don't know who it is, but
yeah.
Just like
Tim and I started that show to have opposing point of views. He brings on someone, I bring on someone. We walk in with a few discussions, and we just talk it out. And the only rule is no swearing at each other.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, just to keep it a little civil and keep the show going.
Sure then.
Video. Yeah,
okay. Are you streaming right now? You're not, are you? Or are you?
No, I'm done.
Okay, gotcha. I'm streaming. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Just make sure you know.
For sure.
Cool. Okay, cool. I just wanted to talk about. I guess it feels kind of rude to snipe comments, but just some stuff I encourage you to look into on your own. That description of left and right brain, like that separation causing PTSD, I've never heard that description for causing PTSD in my entire life.
Really?
There is like a lateralization that occurs down. There's a name for that. It's like post-medial fissure or something in the center of the brain. I don't remember what it's called. But like when you talk about like PTSD, I've never heard that before, so that might be something you want to look into. And then also the idea that like your left or right brain have to do with like storing memory, like codifying short-term into long-term memory are things that are handled by different parts of the brain, but I've never heard somebody say like the left brain does this versus the right brain. Just be careful what you hear sometimes. Make sure you're verifying your stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, at that point, I was just listening. You know
sure,
what I mean?
yeah. Just
I was just listening. I wasn't. I even asked her. I'm like, wait, so that causes like your left brain to turn off when you feel fear, and then she just went off on her tangent there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to see those studies. I am very interested in that and what causes people to think what and react to what. So yeah.
Sure. And then just like another quick thing, do you understand how the property tax school thing works and why that's a little kind of fucked up?
And that's what Aiden was saying, right? Is that what?
Well, that you guys were kind of talking about it. Basically, the way that public schools are funded is they're funded by the property taxes of the houses that are near the schools. That's one of the big complaints that people have about schools. So in the United States, we spend a little bit more than most countries per capita of GDP than other countries spend on education, but a disproportionate amount of our spending goes to rich schools. So let me give you an example. I live in a city called Omaha, and I decided to send my kid to public school over private school. I didn't want my kid to go to a shitty public school, and I lived in kind of a shitty neighborhood, so I went and I bought a house in one of the nicer neighborhoods in the city so that I could be in the best school district, because the only way to get him into a better school was to move to a richer neighborhood, and a richer neighborhood has more property taxes going to the school, which will make the school better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But how about the thing I brought up at the end there? I don't know if you...
Which one?
You caught the end where I was just asking, there are more poor white, students than poor black people. So the economic, factor doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm willing to bet that if you look up the educational outcomes of the poor white kids too, it's probably on par with poor black people, I would imagine, if you went and looked it up. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. This isn't just a race thing. This is more a class thing. But the problem is that a large number of black people of all the black people in the black race in the United States tend to be poor. But yeah, it's a class issue, not just a race issue, for sure.
Interesting. Cool. I'm gonna look a lot more into this and definitely make more comments about that. I was just asking questions. I was moderating. Sure. Yeah, it was cool though. Yeah, man. Okay, it was nice. That other stream, by the way, that was awesome. That on what was it, Tuesday? That was interesting. The Amos Yee thing.
Oh yeah.
That was holy shit. What the fuck? After that 4 hours, dude, I didn't even know what to feel. I just felt empty after our talk by the end because it was like 4 hours of streaming.
Yeah. So
good though.
One thing that I was really critical of, I don't remember if we talked about it as much in that conversation or the one before, but something that like kind of really rustles my jams is when is something, and this is what I'm like really critical of the skeptic community for, is I noticed that there's a lot of are you familiar with Rush Limbaugh? Do you know who Rush Limbaugh is?
Yes.
Yeah, I steal a term from him. He calls it the drive-by media. So what I notice is that sometimes skeptics do these drive-bys where what they'll do is they'll show up and they'll rip a headline and then they like caused some outrage on Twitter over it, okay? So I just wanted to bring up, I just had like 2 quick examples of this, maybe for stuff for you to consider in the future, okay? So here's a Blair White tweet, okay?
All right, let me oh shoot, sorry, I hate the way Skype set this up.
Oh yeah, the picture appears and everything.
So annoying. All right, I'm opening it now. Okay, so she posted a headline, and well, her quote is, "You can never please these people, so stop goddamn trying." And the article is from like Babe. It's called Babe or something.
Sure, yeah.
It says, "Sorry, white people, but trying too hard not to be racist is low key trying to be racist." Now, I'd say that headline is ridiculous, but tell me why it's not what it seems.
Sure. So, hold on, let me, I gotta type in. So there are a couple problems here, firstly, before we even start, okay? So the title does sound ridiculous, right? But you see the subtitle, right? What does it say?
Yeah, before you're mad. Sorry, oh my God, I just lost it. Before you're mad, let me explain or something?
Yeah. So that kind of makes you wonder right off the bat. So I just want to, this article is pretty short. Can I just read this to you real quick, and then you can tell me if you think that this is like, it's like 4 or 5 minutes, okay? Okay.
Yeah, please do.
So now I feel like this is a really, really good example of an article, okay? I'll try not to shade your opinion too much, okay? Don't get me wrong. It's great that white people care about racism now. That's nice for them, and it's totally sick to hear white guys tell me that they're into brown girls too when they want to try to get into my pants. And even though ending racism can seem like an impossible dream in a world where Nazis are a thing again and everyone expects me to care about anything related to Bella Thorne, at least diversity is a stated goal now. Progress. But sometimes, when white people try to be allies, the pendulum swings back into the wrong direction and shit gets straight up offensive. The reductress headline, "I don't see color," says a white guy who exclusively dates Asian women, is a textbook example of this phenomenon. This is another one. Do you see anything wrong with this picture? And then it's a white girl standing next to a bunch of black rappers, and then some other memes. So adopting black okay, sorry. Hold on one second.
No worries.
Adopting black slang when trying to appeal to a black audience is, unfortunately, kind of racist and definitely appropriative, even if you're doing it because you think it's cool, or even, yikes, trying to make someone else feel more comfortable. Then there are white women who appreciate yoga a little bit too much, the kind who devote entire Instagram feeds to their practice and flood the chakra hashtag, or white students who take a spring break trip to Thailand and come back to school 2 weeks later rocking elephant pants and a big old Buddha tattoo because Eastern religion is so much more chill. But we kind of know that stuff is bad, right? Because white people are into busting racism now, and they're ready to point it out anywhere they see it, especially online, even when the people of color who they're supposedly defending don't really see anything. When white people bend over backwards to expose Riverdale star Lily Reinhart for loving blackface when she really just wanted to dress up like a demon, or get mad that Lena Dunham's baby on Girls wasn't actually Pakistani, even though he was on air for literally 30 seconds and is also a fucking baby, it's not woke, it's stupid, and you look stupid doing it. If you have to cite your sources in a bibliography to explain why a Selena Gomez music video is damaging to New Zealand's indigenous population, even though you didn't know it was a part of Australia until like 2 months ago, you need to calm down. Because here's the thing, people are kind of fucking stupid, and racism is particularly fucking stupid. And if white people oversaturate the racism market, nobody's going to care when an actual person of color asks not to be caricatured for a Halloween costume, or, not to get shot at by the cops. Repeat after me, sweet white ally. Less is more. Amplify the actual concerns of people of color instead of getting mad about something irrelevant online for some of your non-white friends. So that some of your non-white friends know that you're one of the good ones. And while we're at it, we can actually stop using woke, understanding that people of color experience racism every single day. So like, in reading this article...
yeah, that sounds like a decent article, actually.
Yeah, not only is it decent, it sounds like what all the skeptics actually say, right? It sounds like they just say, like, hey, like, stop focusing on every little stupid perceived racist thing and focus on the important stuff, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're 100% right there. I'll definitely have to tell Blair about that one. No, you're right. And look, ever since like we had our talk and even after our debate, and some people, had messaged me, I really hated the Destiny before, but you had a good talk with him. And some people are actually angry that I didn't debate you, even though I said we were having a conversation. But yeah, I've been stepping back a little bit more and looking at these headlines. And the dude I do the show with, Tim, he's like technically whatever, SJW or whatever. But even he was talking about those headlines before too in a video. And when he sort of broke them down, what they actually were, they weren't. I mean, there are obviously some headlines where you're like, all right, this person is ridiculous. But then a lot of them that people do share around, you read them and you go, nah, that's not. Well, in this case, it's not only is it not bad, but it's about what we talk about.
Yeah.
But I think the writer and what a lot of people are now used to is just reading the headline. It's like an incendiary headline, but you're right, dude.
And this is kind of where the responsibility of like a content, like I could understand people get sucked into the headline, but I think you have a responsibility. If you're going to be retweeting stuff like that, like you're kind of misleading people, you know? So like this tweet that I linked to Blair White, that had over 3,000 retweets and over 12,500 likes. That's a lot of people now that are coming away thinking like, oh man, you know, like all the fucking, you know, these people are fucking crazy, you know?
Yeah, I know. It seems
a little disingenuous.
Yeah, well, I would even say that a lot of skeptics, and myself included in the past, have looked at, you know, certain headlines. I remember I did one in particular where literally I bashed what I thought it was because the headline and like the first paragraph. But then when you really read ahead of it, it was actually the opposite.
Yeah.
It was just getting you to read it.
Yeah.
And it was sort of the title was the stupid thing that they were actually debunking. So I made myself look like an idiot. But yeah, I wouldn't say she's doing it, you know, to be a dick or, you know, disingenuous. I just think she saw that title, that headline, and, you know, went, what the fuck is this? And then tweeted it out. And is it wrong to do that? Yeah, I agree with you on that. I'm not going to, like, I love her. She's my friend. Like,
sure. And even if we don't say that, like, she was being evil while doing it or whatever, we can agree that, like, that kind of stuff is, like, really harmful, right? That's, like, a really bad thing, like a bad precedent to set, that you just tweet out a headline title and then ascribe these beliefs to people that might actually be on your side, you know?
Well, and also when we have talks like this, what we're talking about right now, the problem is now, you know, someone keeps tweeting out these headlines that aren't, I won't say not real, but, you know, just like look different than what the content actually is. If we keep doing that, it's, you know, the boy who cried wolf situation where it's like, you're going to post a headline now. Do I, you know, believe your headline at this point? And the thing is, I love Blair, and I know a lot of what she's done and tweeted, I agree with. But the headline stuff in particular, I'm very skeptical about everyone who posts headlines now without me reading the articles.
Yeah, which is good. That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when you see people, this is like another thing. If you've ever seen article headlines posted where people talk about eliminating white people or eliminating the white race, usually when you read into those articles, it's usually a lot more nuanced as well. I've had Lauren Southern link me a picture and it had the headline like, we need to get rid of the white race. And when you read into the article, what they were actually talking about was like the concept of whiteness has usually only been used to fuck with people, and what we even consider to be white has changed, you know, over time. So the entire idea that there is like a white thing seems to just be totally redundant. Like, we don't need that concept. It wasn't about actually like killing or getting rid of white people, but it was more just how ridiculous the concept of white, like there are like ethno-white nationalists now, like Nick Fuentes or James Alsop. Fuentes is like 25% Hispanic, and he believes that he's pure enough for his white ethno state. So it's like the entire idea of whiteness has gotten, or like I'm half Cuban, you know, and I might qualify for some of the ethno states that these people want.
So it's like a spectrum of white, and if you're in the right part of the spectrum, then you pass for your white ethno
pretty much
state.
Yeah, but it's just the idea that like the whole concept of whiteness is just kind of silly, and maybe we should just do away with that as like it just doesn't make sense to use anymore. Or like Jontron, who's Iranian or half Iranian, considers himself to be white, you know, and 200 years ago I don't think any Middle Eastern person would have been considered white, you know. I'm glad that you brought up the wolf thing before. So here was here's another thing, from a video. Just these are just like random things that I stumbled across in it, just to keep in mind. I don't know if this is the exact timestamp, but I linked you, and then let me know when you've got it up, and then we can start listening. Okay.
Sure. Okay. And also, someone asked me in your chat why I still support her, because I love a lot of her videos and what she says. She's nice. Funny, and not everyone's perfect. And if I disliked people or didn't support people because they messed up once or twice, then I wouldn't be fair, because I fuck up all the time. So anyway, yeah. So I actually watched a bit of this video today. I watched only the first 2 minutes. Christopher Gunn's video, Men Are Rapists.
Sure,
The hottest of takes. So we're going to watch a particular part, I suppose.
Yeah,
right?
I just have like this past like last 2 minutes or whatever. We could go over the whole video, but we'll just go over this past two. Just as like a thing.
Actually, at a certain point, I don't know if you're going to be streaming for longer. I have to pick up a girlfriend in about 15 minutes, but I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah. And we can talk later if you want, but we don't even need that much to just go over this real quick, okay?
Cool.
Let me know when you got the link up, okay?
Sweet. Yep, it's open, man.
3, 2, 1, go.
Been the subject of myth and fairy tale from the beginning of literature. What else were the stories of Little Red Riding Hood or Bluebeard's castle about? Okay, first of all, I don't know what the hell Bluebeard's castle is, but I'm pretty sure a Little Red Riding Hood is about a wolf eating people. You want to go the sexuality route with vampires? Be my guest, that's entirely accurate. But to suggest that Little Red Riding Hood is about the male libido? What kind of glasses are you wearing? What kind of herbs are you smoking? What kind of chemicals are you ingesting? What kind of horrible things are you doing to yourself? A vampire is an ancient and powerful...
Okay, so pause the video, okay?
Okay, yeah, so that...
He goes hard on that statement, right? So firstly, the article that he's quoting here, in a lot of this article, it isn't even the views of the author. He's just sharing what is like well-accepted, like other literary views of things. So something that I find interesting here, and I heard him say this, and I was kind of curious, so I looked this up. This took me 2 seconds to Google, okay? So the earliest written version of Little Red Riding Hood was written by a guy called, I think it's Charles Perrault. There might be a different way to pronounce that, or Perrault. He's a French dude. And if you read the origins of this tale, it was actually like an allegory for a well-dressed young man seducing a woman in the streets and then taking her back and then devouring her, or, unflowering her. So it's actually exactly what the early tale was about.
Oh, so he just fucked that whole thing
completely up. Yeah. And this is actually something that, and this is really surprising because I don't think Chris is stupid, but if you take any early literature class, and I'm sure you've taken some basic English, you learn this a lot, that a lot of early stories, whether it's The Scarlet Letter or fucking any of those, or early fairy tales, a lot of these are based on, like sexual myths or allegories of society and whatnot.
Allegories.
Yeah. So that was like, I was surprised when I heard him go so hard against it, because it wouldn't really surprise me if like an early tale like had some like sexual origin or whatever. But yeah, I've noticed that a lot, that like people will take like one claim at face value and they won't even research it. Sargon does this a lot, and then they'll just drive that point about how stupid it is, but like a 2-second Google search, and if you that Wikipedia article I linked, if you go down to Charles Perrault, like he says it right there, from this story, and this is the earliest recorded version of Little Red Riding Hood. From this story, one learns that children, especially young lasses, pretty, courteous, and well-bred, meaning they look nice or beautiful, do very wrong, and are high class, do very wrong to listen to strangers, and is not an unheard of thing if the wolf is thereby provided with his dinner. I say wolf, for all wolves are not of the same sort. There is one kind, with an amenable disposition, neither noisy nor hateful, nor angry, but tame, obliging, and gentle, and following the young maids in the streets, even into their homes. Alas, who does not know that these gentle wolves are of all such creatures the most dangerous, right? He's talking about like young dapper men seducing women, like that. That's like well accepted to be like what he's kind of talking about, as one allegory to read it. But just things to keep in mind. Like I could do this kind of stuff like for years on every single video that like the skeptic people seem to make. Like they make a video and then like nothing. There's like no research for any of the claims.
What's something that you hear? I mean, besides this example, like what's a common thing that you hear constantly from skeptics that you're like, God damn, they never get this right?
Everything. So like when I listened to your thing earlier, usually, do you remember when Nazi Buddha, or I'm sorry, do you remember when Mouthy Buddha made his videos and he said that he was quote unquote steel manning the argument? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they use this term called steel manning. I hadn't heard of that until everybody uses it now. But there's this idea. It's called the principle of charity, and the idea is I want to make your argument the strongest it can be, and I try to do this when I'm talking to you. I'll restate your argument in the best way possible, so that when I attack it, I'm attacking the best version of your argument, because I want to be the most correct, not just correct against your formation of an argument, but the best argument that you could make, right? And that's kind of what he was claiming to do. So my problem is that most skeptics absolutely do not apply this when they talk about like feminism is a really good example, or black rights, right? So like and I think I heard a little bit of this, and I was kind of tuning in and out, where people were saying like, oh well, people want to blame all white people for black people problems. I don't think anybody really advocates that. I don't think anybody actually says that. Like, I'm sure there are some people on Twitter and shit that'll say it, but in terms of like people that are crafting policy or big politicians or major leaders, usually you don't hear them come out and be like, white people need to white people are the blame for all of this, blah 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 blah. I guess maybe like in some roundabout way, I'm sure you could find some people kind of saying it, but like you never heard Obama get up on stage and be like, white people, you guys are fucked up, fuck all of you, you need to reparations to all the black people, you know? Like, or same thing with feminism, where people are like, oh, feminism, they just want to kill all the men and outbreed them all and lock them into basements. Like, well, not usually. Like, usually they advocate for things that are a lot less offensive than that, you know?
Well, I agree with that, and I think what a lot of and maybe skeptics don't say it enough is going after the more extremists or the lol cows or whatever, because Tim, for example, while in theory, when we thought about the idea, a lot of people were like, this is gonna be a like shit show. I like the guy. I like a lot of what he says, and I'm not gonna get triggered or pissed off if he thinks I'm saying something that's racist or whatever. He's made me think a lot too, and I think I've made him understand my positions a little bit better. And I'm starting to. The
problem that I have though is that the people never say, like, Sargon will never in a video say, I found this extremist feminist position. They always misrepresent it as like, well, this is what feminism is. That's why when Sargon was at that VidCon thing or whatever, or it might not have been VidCon, but something later, and that guy asked him to define feminism, and he was like, feminism is MythCon, right? Yeah, and he was like, feminism is the cultural Marxism, postmodernist, destroying society. It's like, do you really think everybody that's a feminist like wants to kill all men? You don't think that might just be like because they always present it as like, this is what all men think, this is what all these people, like when Blair White makes this tweet, she's not saying that like some extremists are so unpleasable. She's saying you can never please, and then I quote, these people. Like, what does she mean by that? Everybody that tells you not to be racist, or everybody that's an SJW? Like, the implication there is that she's talking about everybody on like a certain side of the political aisle,
Yeah, and you know what? I've sort of, I'm sure a lot of people have noticed who followed me. I've sort of backed away from making like the all statements, because especially with the SJW stuff, because there are some people who you could say, all right, SJW or whatever,
fucking crazy. Yeah, I agree, of course. Yeah
100%. And then you talk to someone like Tim, or even that dude Martin who we were just talking to. I disagree with him on a lot of things, and I think he's a little bit more overly emotional. But besides that fact, he understood me at the end of the show. He thanked me for being on the show, like, after we were done. And he's like, by the way, I don't hate you. And I actually had a lot of fun on this talk, and I would love to be back and talk more on this. And I think a lot of people just take these, headlines or whatever, certain things that certain people say on the extreme sides and sort of make the blanket statement on Twitter. 'Cause, it's more, I'd say, marketable.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound good, because now you're saying they're being dishonest for money, right?
I'm 100%. I mean, like, that's why, for example, I remember when we had our talk, it was actually on your stream. It was like the one that we debated the first time.
Yeah.
I remember you thought that I made a video that was pro-Trump, but my video was called Trump Wins, Time to Party, but the actual video itself is not pro-Trump. It's me taking all the protests that everyone was breaking everything and saying, oh, look at these guys, they're having a blast, and oh, look, they're having a bonfire, and it's people setting a car on fire. And then I'm like, oh, and they bring out the silly string, and it's police pepper spraying people. So it was just, but the title, Trump Wins, Time to Party, is a more marketable thing than protests are horrible. Now, is that disingenuous or whatever? Like, I'm doing it to get views and clicks or money and being disingenuous. I guess you could say that, but I
well, I mean, like that's not. I mean, like if your goal is to show that like some people are really mad about Trump winning, like that's not necessarily a problem. I'm just focusing on more like on news related things right now. I guess like other things are like larger narrative things. My big problem is just like people taking like a headline and like, well, look at this thing, and then not even like engaging with the article or the content at all.
Yeah, no, and I agree with it. I would love to even fucking have Blair maybe talk to Chris or whatever, you know. And I want to say in a way where to them, I'd like to tell Blair, you look at this thing that you tweeted out, it's completely wrong. So just gonna let you know that. And then, because I don't want to, like, again, I understand, you know, you despise the skeptics and all that stuff. And
listen, I love the skeptics and I love all of you. I just don't like it when people are a little bit dishonest or mislead people. Okay.
Yeah, no, you're right on that, and you've made me think a lot too. And I'll talk to Blair about that. I'm actually curious because I've been, you know, I've done that before too. I've definitely, you know, I actually made a video once on a troll article. You know how embarrassing that was.
Oh.
It was I think it was, and who pointed it out? Vadim Newquest, creationist cat.
Oh yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I had found an article, you should abort your white babies. And it was like a pretty believable article. I mean, you know, things have gone so haywire on these extreme articles that when I read that, I was like, oh my God. And I made a video, and then I'm at a party and I just see Vadim tweet it out. And I'm like, I phoned Chris. I'm like, delete the video, man. This is terrible. So yeah, I've tried staying away from that. I do understand your point of view a lot better. I think I came in here the first time just super heated at you because it's just popular to hate you, I think.
Sure.
Like everyone's like, I hate Destiny, and I'm like, honestly, I kind of like them. Like, I don't know what everyone, and then everyone's just like silent for a bit. Because yeah, you're being I asked you on my stream, I'm like, why are you such an asshole to everyone? And you're just like, because you're actually affecting people. You know, if you lie about something or exaggerate, you know, you're in front of the limelight. I'm obviously just, you know, taking the gist of what you said. And, you know, I just think a lot of people just come in angry at you. And I do think you have a lot of good things to say, dude.
Thanks. I try, buddy. All right. You got to pick up your girlfriend. I don't want you to be late to that.
Yeah, man. And thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
All right,
be careful, dude.
Later, dude.
All right. One video at a time, boys. One skeptic. We got Bunty. We got Andy. We need to get one of the girl skeptics next. We're gonna get roaming millennial. Okay. We're gonna get Lauren Southern. We're gonna bring her over to the No, I'm not. I think she's too far gone out the white nationalist shit.